So if people are going to do that, they're going to pay the consequences of it. So I don't think in and of itself it's a bad idea.
No, I don't want to, I'm not saying, everything has to freeze in place. I just want to make sure, like, I'm interested in this clawback idea, and because, it's my right to be skeptical. I'm skeptical that he's going to create the kind of jobs he says he's going to create. I'm skeptical that he's going to have 79% occupancy 365 days a year. So I want, it makes me feel a little more secure as a taxpayer that if he is just kind of, blowing smoke, that there will be ways to
Definitely. No, thank you.
smack him down a bit.
Actually was an IDA that introduced a clawback well before it was actually mandated by the state. So it was always sort of like more of a sort of like perspective of saying any basically benefits that are extended are not actually just being taken advantage of. And that's also why the annual site visits are so important. Like right now I'm visiting literally every single business and I'm like, show me what you have. And plus, like, they actually have to provide the reporting to the state as well to show that actually what they're promising is what they're delivering. So there's a fairly tight control.
Good to know.
Also keeping in mind there's no actual money paid out, right? It is really more that if the business is successful and continues to own the property, it will get a reduction in property taxes, but it won't get a break from that.
A good example of clawbacks is the Empire Zones. When they were Empire Zones, a lot of people said they were going to create hundreds of jobs, and they created 2. And there was a lot of there was a lot of controversy with Empire Zones as well, which created a climate whereby people don't just give stuff away anymore. They give it away, and they hold people accountable. So.
I'm just curious about the time frame on these programs, if they're on a rolling basis or are they on a calendar of some kind?
Sure.
What to expect this year in terms of funding?
Other than the state, so the state does its grant making process.
Right.
But other than that, I think everything's rolling.
I think my question's more geared towards Kingston, but not totally sure. It's sort of 2 parts. One, just how would one get started with getting help navigating certain regulations? I'm in the restaurant business, and I'm used to New York City regulations, but okay, just email you. Okay. The other question is, I'm interested in somewhat non-traditional models of labor and potentially models of ownership, and things like co-ops or potentially like community engagement with training for the food sector and food service and cooking. Just curious if there are programs or incentives for operators who would be interested in not just a top-down model. Not that there's anything wrong with that.
No, but so you should talk to the Office of Employment and Training. It's Lisa Berger. She's at 340-3168. And give her a call and tell her you're an employer and you want to, they help businesses with training. And they help the way the business wants to train their employees. There's also sometimes, depending on the time of year, there's funding available. If you hire hard to place people, they'll pay their salaries while they're training. So that there's a finite amount of money for that every year, and when it's gone, it's gone. But
I guess what I'm saying is I'm not saying like how do I get help on how to train, but like you said, like paying their salaries while they're training is one example. But like are there incentives for taking somewhat low-skilled workers and helping to elevate into like different categories?
Yeah, and that's sort of the same work.
Yeah. And what's it called, the office?
Office of Employment and Training.
Okay,
Also, just one other point. Evelyn had mentioned about this IDA having the clawbacks early. This whole objective criteria, there's only a half a dozen IDAs in New York State that have objective criteria like this. So this IDA is also to be commended, that you can do this pilot point calculator, you can do this formula and know what you're entitled to. It's not, there's no cronyism, nepotism, there's no question that there's objective criteria, and so that's also, I think, to be commended as well. And then they take input from the community, and then they listen and they change it. So.
I'm curious with projects that are new sites new builds, and also, that are related to, recruiting of good tenants, of bringing space to new business. And what incentives or programs or support there is from the county in terms of finding those business owners that need space, or professional space, or retail space.
So I think that's what Evelyn was talking about. I think when you say incentives, there's not a lot of money for small businesses. There's not a lot of grant money, unless you're going to Ellenville. But what we do, Tim and Evelyn and Brennan and the city, is really work with each business to meet their needs, and if what they need is space. Or, for example, there's brand new office space located over by the traffic circle area in Kingston. I went there today and took pictures of it to help that it's a nonprofit, it's owned by People's Place, but it's gonna be office space to help People's Place market that space to businesses. We went and took pictures and helping them to get that space ready to market. So we work with the business owners, and as well as the tenants. We know a half a dozen businesses who need bigger space. Evelyn mentioned Fruition, but they're all over the county, and we're working hard to find them the perfect space here.
Well, I guess moreover, or more specifically, what is the pros and cons of working with the county in terms of being able to have space for people to rent, to open businesses, aside from just being a realtor or you know what I mean, or having a broker to manage those deals?
It's really just that we're sort of more in the know. What happens is, like, New York State will send us an email, or a business will call us. We have a business in Aqua right now that they want to expand, so they send us their specs, and we send it out. We have a list of all the local realtors, and as well as all the town supervisors, and we keep a list of everybody who knows about sites, and we'll send it out, and maybe Paul Handit in Highland will call and be like, oh, there's this great property in Highland. It's not really for sale right now, but this would be perfect for this location. And so we work with all the realtors. We're not a realtor, and we don't get involved in the negotiations, and we don't get involved in price setting, and we don't help the tenant negotiate with the landlord. Like, that's not our role, because we care about the tenant and we care about the landlord. But
I'm just curious of how involved you are, because
we're as involved as the business wants us to be.
Okay.
Think
You
of
mean
it
on
as
both ends?
On both ends.
Okay.
Yeah, think of it as like an independent, advisor in a sense, for the same way, like, if you're looking for a space, is trying to figure out what should that space look like, and where could we possibly find that? So
Right.
it's going across realtors, like, realtor will usually sort of point you to sites that are really, like, they have an, financial incentive to sort of show you a certain site. We don't take any sort of like part in that. We don't get paid for that. We don't have any involvement in any sort of like financial components. So we might say that, yes, there's a site out there, but by the way, you may want to look at the environmental issues on. We point those things out as well. Or we might say, like, you're not exactly sure what site you need, but you're thinking it's these type of things. So we might say, like, here's maybe 5 or 6 sites that might work. Why don't we get in the car and we spend a half day or a day and we drive around, we look at the sites, look at the community, get a feel for what's out there, and then really understand what else does need to happen. Or then the other thing we do, we just had what we call like a gateway meeting yesterday, where we had Black Creek Mercantile here. It was the city of Kingston, it was ourselves, it was the planning department, it was
The state of New York,
the state
Central
of New
Hudson,
York, Central
brought everybody
Hudson,
together
brought
around one
everybody to
table.
the table to really say, what do we have on the plate to help this business to be successful? Where are there incentives? Are there grants? What are the steps we need to go through? Is a site that they're looking at, possibly one that could actually get upgraded to natural gas? It's things like that. But having that all around the table once means, like, that for you as the business owner, you don't have to go to 10 different people. We just bring them all around the table, and then let's have a discussion about it.
Let me interject too. Suzanne mentioned this Galileo Technologies that's doing with Ulster Green ARC, the Art Ulster Green food and beverage incubator space at their Cornell Street building. And so that came out of, kind of repeated calls that we were getting from really small food and beverage producers that were kind of graduating out of their home kitchen or some kitchen that they were borrowing from somebody and needed a commercial kitchen space, but couldn't find one, couldn't afford to build their own. And so, that's the other role here, is we can listen to what all the needs are that we're hearing from other places and say, wait, there's a common need here, let's figure out if there's some project that could help meet that need. And so we've been, for probably too long, underway with a food and beverage study looking at the food and beverage processing needs in the county and trying to figure out if there's sufficient capacity to meet those needs in the next month or two. We'll probably roll that study out and talk more about that, so.
I was wondering how large a project does it need to be for your
It can be
assistance?
any, I mean, like Evelyn said, we had a deli owner from New York City call and say, I want to open an Italian deli. Can you help me? And we help. We return every phone call. There is nobody walking around who did not get a return phone call unless they didn't leave a number on my machine. But we do. We return every single phone call. We help every single business person, any size. But that's why, and so, you know, everybody's not eligible for a pilot. That has to be a really big project. But somebody might just be looking for a deli. He wants to know how many Italians there are in different neighborhoods, or I don't know, everyone talk to him. But, right, you know? And I guess the other thing I just want to say, because I'm looking around the room right now and I see Phoenicia and Stone Ridge and the city of Kingston and Highland and Esopus and Ulster County is represented in this room. This tonight was sort of a pilot you know, we haven't done this training before. The goal is to roll it out. Oh, and New Paltz, I almost forgot New Paltz. We want to roll this training out around the county in 2018. So if you think this would help your community, let us know, and we'll schedule your community next. And so the goal is really to work with all of the towns, all the municipalities, and make sure that everybody understands the services that we offer, the pilots, and everything else.
And we also want feedback to see that, you know, what should be changed? Should we re-emphasize something more, or
Should we dance?
Should we dance? We didn't contemplate that, but,
Yes, Dave, yes, Dave.
dancing in the
Yes,
restaurant.
Quick to go back to your
Yeah.
remark, I mean, we don't, in the city of Kingston, we don't have room for giant projects. So every business, every entity, every person is important.
Well, thank you very much for coming, and I can get cards as well, but I can give you my number, which is 340-3556, and please feel free to call and or email me, and oh wait, there's a slide with, I don't know, I lost the slide,
Yeah, here, I'll put it up.
but
My neighbor at work. When did you meet?
thank you so much.
Thanks.